Let me ask you something. Working memory, 4 items. Expert memory, 40 items. And it's the same brain. How on earth is that possible? Well, today, we're going to dive into the science behind that feeling of being completely overwhelmed and the cheat code experts use to smash right through it. It all starts right here, with this number, 4. This is it. This is the absolute maximum number of new, unrelated things your conscious brain can handle at the same time. Yep, just 4. But then you look at an expert, say a chess master, and they can glance at a board and somehow remember the position of over 40 pieces. How is that possible if the limit is 4? I mean, are they just built differently? Is their brain just better? The answer? Nope, not at all. You and that expert have the exact same brain hardware. The difference is they're running better software. They have learned a powerful mental trick to compress information. And by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly how they do it too.
So, what's causing this bottleneck? It's something called your working memory. The best way to think about it is like your brain's RAM, or maybe a mental countertop. It's the space where you actively hold and work with ideas. When you're trying to do math in your head or follow a new recipe, you are using your working memory. And as we're about to see, that countertop is a lot smaller than most of us think.
You know, for 50 years, we all thought the magic number was 7, based on some famous early research. But it turns out that was kind of a misunderstanding. In 2001, a researcher named Nelson Cowan proved that the raw biological limit is actually 4. Your brain has 4 slots for new information. That's it. So the real question becomes, how in the world do we work around this fundamental limit?
To get that, we need a framework. And that framework is called cognitive load theory, developed by Sweller. It's brilliant, really. It breaks down all the mental effort you're feeling into 3 distinct categories. And it explains exactly why those 4 slots get filled up so ridiculously fast.
First up, we have intrinsic load. Think of this as the unavoidable difficulty of the subject. Learning to drive is a perfect example, right? You've got the steering wheel, the pedals, the mirrors, watching traffic, all at once. That's way more than 4 things. This kind of load is just part of the task. You can't really get rid of it.
Second, and this is the bad one, is extraneous load. This is just wasted mental effort. It's junk. Imagine learning to drive from a terribly written manual, where the diagrams are on one page and the explanation is 10 pages later. That confusion? That's not part of learning to drive. It's just bad design, and it needlessly hogs your precious working memory slots.
And finally, there's germane load. This is the good stuff. This is the productive effort you spend connecting ideas and building mental models, or what psychologists call schemas. It's that aha moment when all the separate steps of stopping a car, like checking your mirrors, braking smoothly, suddenly merge into one single automatic action. That's where learning happens.
So how do experts handle all this? Well, they minimize that bad load and they maximize the good load until something incredible happens. And the best evidence for this comes from a classic study from 1973 involving, you guessed it, chess players.
Okay, so check out this setup. Researchers showed a mid-game chessboard to both total beginners and grandmasters, but only for 5 seconds. The beginners, they remembered about 4 pieces, which is exactly what you'd expect, right? But the masters, they could recreate almost the entire board, over 40 pieces. It looked like straight-up magic.
But here's where the experiment gets really clever. The researchers started to wonder, was this some kind of raw photographic memory, or was it something else? To find out, they ran the test again, but with a brilliant twist.
This time, they placed the pieces on the board completely at random, in positions that would never, ever happen in a real game. And poof, just like that, the Grandmaster's superpower vanished. They could only remember about 4 pieces, exactly the same as the beginners. Their incredible advantage was gone.
And this reveals the entire secret. Experts don't have bigger brains or better memories. They have better chunks. You see, the Grandmaster wasn't seeing 40 individual pieces. They are seeing 4 or 5 familiar patterns, chunks, like the king's Indian defense setup. Each one of those chunks might have 10 or more pieces, but it was all compressed down into a single slot in their working memory.
So what does all this mean for you? It means that feeling of being totally overwhelmed when you're trying to learn something new, it's often not your fault. It is a design problem, and it explains so many of our common frustrations.
When you hit a wall, you can't just focus harder. To magically create a 5th slot in your brain, that's an architectural limit. A lot of the time, that tutorial itself is just poorly designed, filled with all that bad extraneous load.
And so often it's written by an expert who has totally forgotten what it's like to not see the chunks. So they skip steps that are obvious to them, but totally invisible to a beginner.
Okay, so this validates the frustration. But here's the hopeful part, the empowering part. You can actively manage these loads and start building your own mental compression software. Here's the playbook.
First, be ruthless about getting rid of that extraneous load. Ditch the confusing tutorials. Find materials that are clear, simple, and well-organized. Second, build your schemas through deliberate practice. Don't just mindlessly repeat things. Focus on recognizing the underlying patterns. And third, you have to actively hunt for the chunks. Ask yourself, what are the real building blocks here?
Take learning to code, for example. A beginner sees a for loop, and their brain tries to track every single part. Okay, initialize the variable, check the condition, execute the code, increment the variable. You're looking at a dozen separate things all competing for those 4 slots. It's a total cognitive traffic jam.
But an expert, they don't see 12 items. They see one thing, the for loop chunk. All of that complexity has been compressed into a single reliable tool that only takes up 1 slot, freeing up the other 3 to think about the bigger picture.
I think this is the best analogy. Your working memory is like your computer's RAM. It's super fast, but it's limited. Chunks, or schemas, are like zip files. Through practice, you learn to compress a whole folder of complex information into one single tiny file. And when you need it, you can instantly unzip it.
So the takeaway is really this. The constraint is real. You've got 4 slots. The goal isn't to fight that limit. It's to work with it. Stop wasting those slots on bad design and start using them to build these compressed chunks of knowledge. It all comes back to this one idea. From novice to expert, the hardware doesn't change one bit. You just get way better at compressing the software. That's the secret. That is the cheat code.
So I'll leave you with a question to think about. Whatever it is you're trying to master right now, what are the fundamental chunks? What are the big patterns that experts see as one thing that you're still seeing as many? Find those, and you will find your path to expertise.